Hello and welcome. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Emily, and I am reading Jane Austen books and quite possibly more books on my YouTube channel. And that's what I'm doing. I initially had the idea when I bought my first Jane Austen novel, which was Pride and Prejudice. I was going to a movie. I went to see Nosferatu at like 10 p.m. Not the best idea. It was very scary, and I was home alone. I had nobody there. But I stopped in a Target, and I just don't go to Target, and I don't know why. I know it's the talk of the town. And I went to Target, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a book. I never buy books either. Like, I just have not been a reader, I'd say. I've been I've been listening to a lot of books recently. I listened to Dune when those came out because those were just such good movies. I loved the Dune movies. They were so good. So it inspired me to listen to Dune, and I was listening to the ACOTAR series, some fairy porn series, basically. And so that was like my gateway. And then I just started watching so much content, all these people recommending books. I started reading 1984, and then I just really fell in love. But this is, and I've watched a video. Somebody said in a video that I watched that this is like it is like a foreign language. So when I started reading this, it was funny to me to like see how many semicolons were in these books and also see how long these sentences possibly could be. The sentences are so long, and I just thought it would be fun to share in that journey of like, these books are really good. I just finished Sense and Sensibility. My first book was Pride and Prejudice. They're so good. And I just thought it'd be fun to capture my experience of literally reading these books for the first time. I have a whole list of vocabulary words and quotes that I really like. And I think in another life I would probably be like a lit major. I'm not, full disclosure, I am not a lit major. But now I'm watching podcasts, listening to podcasts that are talking about people who have read Emma 15 times, and then they read a paragraph together, and they're finding out new things to think about just from that one paragraph. And I was just talking to one of my friends, Wendy, with the Windy lady. She's an acupuncturist. I call her the Windy lady. And she was talking about how she was an American literature major in school, and they just dissected sentences, which I could see myself getting into. Let's just go. I think I even said that, like, you could go by this sentence by sentence. And she said she even was analyzing why an author used the word the, which sounds cuckoo loco crazy. And I do think I've actually made fun of that before in my life when I was in college, the first time around when I was very young, and just like, who cares what these people and why we'll never know why they wrote what they wrote. Like, we just enjoy it and not overanalyze things. God, everyone wants to know why. And it's just like, just let it be and just enjoy it. But now I'm like, yeah, but why did they write it like that? And I guess Jane Austen, there were lots of other people writing in this same style at the time, and she just did it the best. She just did it the best, and she was witty, and her characters are so fun. I loved Mr. Bennet. I loved Mrs. Jennings. I loved Mr. Palmer. The balance between Mr. and Mrs. Palmer was so funny to me. I also can see because everybody's like, well, you either look at it as a funny, just chick novel that's like witty, or you can see the irony and satire in it. And I can see that too. There's like full characters that are like, this is just a satire on the whole society at large. It's like very meta. I think I've used that word before, and that feels right. How she's like, Jane Austen was a woman who was not allowed to work and write, and she had to do it in secret. And she was writing about how ridiculous her society was. Very rebellious, very fun. You can kind of like see, possibly you can see herself. I didn't know Jane Austen. I am turning 40 this year, and she's turning 250 this year, and it's a 250-year anniversary of Jane Austen. Um, but she wasn't even supposed to be writing, and she's commenting, and you can see herself in these novels. You can see a little bit of like the rebelliousness from Lizzie Bennet, and like Jane Austen was probably a little bit like that. She was like secretly writing letters to her sister, like, can you believe this lady? You know, you can see certain people are gossipy about the society and how ridiculous silly women are who just want to make everybody married. And I've also watched some videos that are like, you know, Eleanor was way too good for Edward for ours. I just finished Sense and Sensibility. And it's like, yeah, she, like, this was all she had. And their world was so small. So small, their world. They couldn't just get on a plane and go to, you know, it took them, this is all they knew. So it was like, what were they going to go do? Well, they don't really have a choice. They kind of have to settle. There's a lot of settling going on. So a lot of these women, and Jane Austen had a choice to settle, and she chose her writing. It's so beautiful. So I am going to start this Mansfield Park. Look at this beautiful book. It's kind of glossy and fun. There were two different, I went to Barnes & Noble, there were two different ones, and this one was just prettier, and it's got the gold, but these are glossy pages, which is not my favorite. I was gonna like have a version sent to me from England, but you know, I do care about the environment. I try my best, and I thought getting one book shipped to me from England might not be the best for the environment. So I did get this book at Barnes & Noble. I did drive there. I should have ridden my bike, but it's just baby steps. So I'd love to. Now, Sense and Sensibility was like annotated, and it was like there was a chronology, and there was appendix, and there was all this stuff in the back. And this is just, I mean, chapter 1 starts like page 1, chapter 1. There's nothing in here. There's like a little excerpt that I will read, and my next video I will start chapter 1. This is helpful for me to read this also because I don't know anything about this book. I know that there is a woman in it named Mrs. Norris, and she's not very nice, and that's all I really know. Because I think every video is like, trigger warning, if you're about to read Mansfield Park, there is a trigger warning that I am going to provide, because there is a lot of abusive language, but we're going to see. We're going to see what this book invites us to. We've been through Sense and Sensibility, which, you know, a lot of sickness, a lot of secrecy, a lot of like, you have so much sense and you wouldn't really understand me, so I'm going to be so emotional. And then Eleanor's like, well, I'm emotional too, but I'm going to keep it secret. And like, even her mom was like, I feel like I've been deceived. You've been having so much distress, you know? And just men during this time could really be bad men, and nobody really knows until somebody gets pregnant or something. You just don't really know. And I think Pride and Prejudice used to be called First Impressions, which feels very right. Like, Elizabeth Bennet was judging on these impressions that she was getting from hearsay, and there was a lot of pride involved. Pride, prejudice, sensibility. So the themes were kind of in the titles, I'll say, and this is just called Mansfield Park. And so I have nothing to go on. So I'll just read this tiny little itty bitty baby introduction to Mansfield Park, and then next video we'll start chapter 1. Hope you enjoy. Mansfield, I do British accent because it just doesn't feel right to do it in like an American English accent. And I wish I did know what Jane Austen sounds like. That's my ongoing question of like, what did she sound like? I'd love to know what this sounded like in her head. Okay. Mansfield Park. To relieve the pressure on her impoverished, overburdened family, shy young Fanny Price is sent to live with Sir Thomas and Lady Bertram, wealthy relatives who reside at Mansfield Park. Okay, we've got Fanny Price as our main heroine, I'd say. Main character, Fanny Price, and the wealthy relatives, Sir Thomas and Lady Bertram. And it is set in Mansfield Park. Got it. Of the Bertrams' own 4 children, only the younger son, Edmund, shows her any real kindness. And over time, Fanny falls in love with her cousin. With Sir Thomas away on overseas business, Mansfield's social circle gains 2 superficially attractive new members, handsome, worldly Henry Crawford and his witty, vivacious sister Mary. Flirtations abound as Henry cavorts with the 2 Bertram daughters, one of whom is already engaged. Even more galling to Fanny, who stands aloof from all these shenanigans. Oh my god, I love the word shenanigans. Is the fact that Edmund falls for Mary's dazzling charms already. It's going to be juicy already, I can tell. The waters are further muddied when Henry trains his roving eye on Fanny herself and becomes a very earnest suitor. Austen's recurring themes of manners and morality, rank and responsibility, vice and virtue lie at the heart of Mansfield Park, widely regarded as one of her mature masterpieces. Wow, I can't wait. I don't know any quotes from this book. I don't know nothing. So if anybody wants to comment and point out, ooh, you should ponder on this sentence, I would be into that. Or if somebody wants to comment ooh, the way you read that was cool. Maybe if you read it this way, it would mean something different. Any sort of commenting, liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. No, I'm not trying to monetize this at all. Actually, this is just something I'm doing on my own for actually just therapy. I'm on disability right now from work. I am very much, my job feels like very much service, which should be fulfilling, but I think I've just absolutely emptied my tank. And so I think focusing on something that has nothing to do with my occupation feels really good right now. I work with bodies. I work on bodies, and the body it's just a puzzle. It's never ending. It's a never ending pursuit. So I am pausing on thinking about the human body for a second, and I am diving deep into literature. So Jane Austen is my gateway to literature, classics, and I could quite possibly go on to read other classics, and I think it could be fun. So join me on this journey through Mansfield Park, where it sounds like we're going to have a lot of juicy content here. So book content, not content, but is going to be content because it will be content, but quality content in here, nothing that I say. Again, not a literature major. And I did just buy, last thing, I bought this cup. I went to Barnes & Noble to buy this book, and I saw this cup, and I just had to buy it. And it says, I declare, after all, there is no enjoyment like reading. Jane Austen. So, happy reading. Would love to hear what everybody's reading right now. And ta-ta for now. Ta-ta.